Hello everyone, my name is Nanji Mateo. I'm the founder of Interpremet.com, and in this video I'm going to review the ethical principle of accuracy for medical interpreters. First, let's imagine a medical encounter with a Spanish-speaking patient, a doctor, and a family member acting as an interpreter. The doctor asks the patient why they think they may have gotten sick. And the patient says he thinks he's intoxicado. He says in Spanish. This is the Spanish word for food poisoned. As the family member has not received any medical interpretation training, and intoxicado sounds really similar to intoxicated, the family member says, "He's intoxicated," which you may know means to be drunk or under the influence of drugs in English. Nothing like food poisoned. Would you say that the family member's translation was accurate? No, because the meaning was changed upon interpretation. What's more, this inaccurate translation may cause misunderstandings that lead to misdiagnosis and therefore inadequate treatment. All because of a simple word. So, when we are interpreting, we need to be accurate, not only to allow people to communicate clearly, but also to avoid any harm to the patient. But what exactly is accuracy? As a simple concept, accuracy means that the interpreter says exactly what the person is saying when rendering the message from one language to another. Accuracy is key to ensuring effective communication, as we saw in the previous example. Accuracy is also a hard skill that's very specific to interpreters, as well as an ethical principle interpreters abide by. The accuracy principle is present in many, if not all, interpreter codes of ethics and standards of practice, including those three major interpreter associations in the US: the IMIA, the NCISC, and CHIA. The IMIA says, interpreters will select the language and mode of interpretation that most accurately conveys the content and spirit of the messages of their clients. The NCISC says, the interpreter strives to render the message accurately, conveying the content and spirit of the original message, taking into consideration its cultural context. And CHIA says, interpreters transmit the content, spirit, and cultural context of the original message into the target language, making it possible for patient and provider to communicate effectively. I love this definition. So you may have noticed in these definitions that accuracy not only involves conveying the content of the message, but also other aspects of the message, such as the cultural context and spirit of the message. To illustrate these ideas, take for example the word bus in English. If you were to translate this term into Spanish, you'll find a variety of terms depending on where you look at. In Mexico, a person will probably say camión or micro. If you go down to the Caribbean, where I'm at, in the Dominican Republic, you'll hear guagua. If you travel to South America, you'll hear colectivo in Argentina or micro in Chile. Are all of these translations accurate? Yes, they are, because they match the meaning of the word bus in English. However, if you say guagua to a Chilean, they probably wouldn't think you're saying the bus, but that you're saying baby, since that's what guagua means in Chile. You see, a term is only accurate or inaccurate in context. As interpreters, we need to think about how the person we are addressing will perceive the message according to their language variant, their culture, the original speaker's intention or goal, their tone of voice, among other influencing factors. Let's look at the tone of voice for a moment. If a person says, "You want to go there?" and another person says, "You want to go there," we will assume the meaning of the messages to be different, wouldn't we? In the first case, when she says, "You want to go there?" it's as if the person was surprised, maybe slightly judgmental about you wanting to go there because it's a place they consider you shouldn't want to go to. Like, there? Are you sure? In the second case, "You want to go there," the person is reassuring you that this is a place that you must visit, that you shouldn't miss. You want to go there. As you can see, we have the exact same phrase whose meaning can be changed by altering the tone. To be an accurate interpreter, you also need to keep in mind that your tone should match the communicative intention of the speaker. So we have tone, we have language variants. Let me know in the comment section, how do you say straw or popcorn in your language, and where in the world, in which location this word is used. It will be very interesting to see all the variations. A common misconception people seem to have is that interpreting is repeating in your own words, repeating what you understood, or just saying the most important things that the speaker said. But this is far from the truth. Interpreters should possess the skill to repeat in the other language everything that the person says without omitting, adding, distorting, embellishing, or changing the message in any way, shape, or form. As you can see, faithfulness to the original message is paramount. This may sound like a pretty strict standard, but here is the reason why. First, I want you to think about the telephone game you probably played when you were a kid. Remember how one person at the beginning of the line will say something that will end up being completely distorted by the time the last person heard the message? While this may have been fun as kids and, give us a good laugh, this communication breakdown is unacceptable in medical encounters, especially when discussing critical life and medical issues. We just cannot take that risk. The truth is that when we listen to a message, we pass it through our own mental filters or lens. We inevitably attach our own opinions, thoughts, and emotions to the message. If we were to say what we think the person said or meant, then we will imbue the message with a lot of extra things that the speaker may have not originally meant, and sometimes we can even cause unduly misunderstandings. That's why interpreters render the message exactly as is, as it was given. Here is an example of the 4 most common interpreting errors you will want to avoid to preserve accuracy. Omissions. This is when you leave something out. For example, if you hear a person says, "You'll take your losartan medication twice a day," and the interpreter says, "You'll take your medication twice a day." This may not seem such a big of a deal. Maybe by the context they already know what medication they are referring to. But from the point of view of accuracy, you are omitting the name of the medication, which is losartan. What if they are taking multiple medications? Which one are they going to take twice a day? You didn't render that, and it wasn't the original message. So losartan will be the omission here, and it will bring down the accuracy of your rendition. Additions. Let's say we have a phrase that says, "I don't know, I called this number 315-222-7676. And the interpreter says, "I don't know, I called this cell phone number 315 blah blah blah." Okay, so here This may not look like a big of a deal, but you're specifying they use a cell phone number. Maybe it was a home number. Maybe it was the office number. You just don't know. You cannot specify something that was not said. It will be considered a mistake as well. Let's take distortion. If the doctor is talking to a patient about their surgery and the doctor says, "We'll make a small incision on your groin." And the interpreter says, "We'll make a small incision below your groin." This is a distortion because we are altering the meaning. We change one word into another, and this is affecting critically how the message is perceived. Is unacceptable because in your groin or on your groin is completely different to below your groin. It's very important to be very specific, especially when it comes to surgery. Lastly, we have embellishment. Here we have a phrase, let's say someone is very impatient. They are talking to a patient who is rambling and they just want to get a straight answer. And they go and say, "I don't need to hear the full story, just answer yes or no." And the interpreter goes, "Please, I don't need to hear the full story. A yes or no will suffice. Thank you." You see how I'm embellishing with adding polite words like please and thank you and saying will not suffice instead of just answer. I'm making things sound prettier than they need to be or than they were originally said. I'm also, look at my tone. Look at how I changed my tone from an upset, impatient doctor to a very patient and kind interpreter. So this is an embellishment. We're making things sound more beautiful, nicer, polite than they were originally said. We are embellishing the message. And sometimes you may think, I want to help, I want to be polite, I want to make people feel okay. And while all of those intentions are very good, in the same way, if you misrepresent someone's words, then the patient or the provider will have a different idea of that person's personality. If you make them look more polite than they really are, the patient will feel like, "Oh, this doctor is really polite. Let me schedule another appointment." And then imagine they go ahead and schedule the appointment and they have a different interpreter and just are surprised by the difference in treatment, that they are not the person they thought they were. So that's why embellishments don't quite work, because we are not being fully honest with the other person about someone's words. We should also interpret curse words and foul language, even if we don't feel comfortable doing that, because that's the way the person is expressing themselves. Perhaps that's the best way they found to express their feelings or their frustration, and not conveying that will be in a way censoring them or restricting their ability to express themselves. Or maybe even the use of foul language or certain curse words can be a mental health symptom of someone who is frustrated, who is verbally aggressive. So that's why it is so important to stick to the original. So the road to accuracy from the standpoint of interpreting skills may not be particularly easy. Interpreters are challenged with the task of remembering very long utterances with many details, all the while thinking in two languages, which can be mentally taxing and demand a lot of memory capacity. But just like any skill, with patience and practice, you can go from zero to hero in your interpreting skills. It's a great idea to learn good memory retention strategies, which is exactly what I'm going to be teaching in my upcoming webinar, Memory Retention Techniques for Consecutive Interpretation, this Saturday, February 25th. In this webinar, you will discover proven memory techniques that will lay the foundation for accurate consecutive interpretation. There will be practice exercises and guided feedback that will help you grow your skills in the right direction. If you cannot join live, the webinar will also be recorded and made available on our website. I'll make sure to leave all of the details in the video description. If you like the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks a lot for watching, and until the next time, bye!